Last week, I caught my business partner in a massive lie. Not about money, not about work, about something stupid. I should have seen it coming months ago. The signs were all there, but I ignored them because I believe that old myth we've all been fed, that liars avoid eye contact, fidget, and act nervous. Total bullshit. The best liars? They look you straight in the eye and lie with the confidence of a preacher. So if you think you can spot a liar by watching for shifty eyes and nervous twitches, you're about to get played. Hard. Today I'm sharing the 7 actual signs someone is lying to you. And trust me, some of these will mess with your head. Because the people who lie the most, they're not the ones you think they are. Why you keep falling for lies. Here's what nobody tells you about lying. We're all surrounded by it every single day. Studies reveal that the average person lies about 1.65 times daily. That might sound minor, but here's where it gets unsettling. We only detect around 54% of those lies. That's barely better than a coin toss. Think about your last failed relationship or business deal. How many red flags did you overlook? How many times did your gut whisper that something felt off, but you brushed it aside, convincing yourself you were overthinking? This isn't about becoming paranoid or distrusting everyone. It's about learning how to protect yourself from manipulation. Because when you can't spot deception, you end up making poor choices. You trust the wrong people, invest in bad opportunities, and stay stuck in toxic situations far longer than you should. The consequences aren't just emotional heartbreak. They cost you your time, your money, your energy, even your mental health. And here's what really stings. The worst liars aren't always strangers or obvious criminals. Often they're much closer. They're your coworkers, friends, even romantic partners, people who smile at you while feeding you carefully crafted falsehoods. They don't stumble or act nervous like we've been led to believe. Many lie with absolute confidence, making it nearly impossible to catch unless you know exactly what to watch for. That's why understanding how deception really works isn't a luxury. It's a necessary skill for anyone who wants to protect themselves in today's world. Your brain is wired to miss lies. The reason we're so terrible at catching liars comes down to one simple flaw. We assume everyone thinks like us. Honest people expect liars to behave how they imagine they would if they were lying. Nervous, anxious, fidgety. But real liars, especially chronic ones, don't operate that way. They've trained themselves to stay calm under pressure. Some even get a rush from deceiving others. In fact, research from UCLA discovered that pathological liars have about 25% more white matter in their prefrontal cortex, the brain region involved in planning, problem-solving, and yes, manipulation. That extra white matter allows them to fabricate stories more fluidly, manage inconsistencies better, and suppress the stress signals that would expose most people. Their brains are literally wired differently. But it's not just biology. Social conditioning plays a huge role too. We're raised to be polite, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to avoid being confrontational or suspicious. So when something feels off, we silence that inner alarm. We second-guess ourselves, thinking it would be rude or unfair to accuse someone without solid proof. Yet, ironically, that internal discomfort is often the most reliable signal we have. Our subconscious brain picks up on subtle cues, micro-expressions that flash for a fraction of a second, slight changes in voice tone, odd pauses, inconsistencies in stories. We sense these discrepancies, but we've been conditioned to dismiss them. That gut feeling isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition, honed through years of social interaction. The tragedy is that most people ignore it until it's too late. Understanding this disconnect is crucial. Once you realize that liars don't play by your emotional rules, you stop looking for shaking hands and darting eyes. You start noticing the real tells, the ones hidden beneath the surface. How I got completely fooled once. I learned all of this the hard way a few years ago. I was in a relationship with someone who, on paper, seemed like the perfect match. She was successful, charismatic, and always had a story ready for every situation. But over time, little things started to nag at me. Her stories were always a bit too perfect, too rehearsed. Sometimes small details would shift from one retelling to another, but she was so confident and convincing that I dismissed my doubts. I told myself I was overanalyzing, that I was being paranoid. After all, who wants to believe someone they care about might be lying? Eventually, the truth came out. She had lied about nearly everything. Her job, her past relationships, even trivial things like where she had lunch or who she met for coffee. When I confronted her, expecting at least some guilt or remorse, she just shrugged and said, "You never asked the right questions." That moment was a gut punch. I realized I'd been searching for the wrong signs the entire time. I was expecting visible guilt, anxiety, or hesitation. Instead, she displayed none of those. She was composed, detailed, and confident, exactly what I falsely believed indicated honesty. That relationship falling apart became my wake-up call. I dove into research about deception, not because I wanted to become some sort of human lie detector, but because I never wanted to be that blind again. I studied behavioral cues, cognitive biases, and the psychology behind why people lie and why we fall for it. The experience taught me that trusting my instincts isn't weakness, it's self-preservation, and more importantly, that the most dangerous liars are often the ones who appear the most trustworthy. 7 real signs someone is lying. All right, let's break down the real signs someone might be lying to you. First, pay attention to excessive detail. Liars often think that adding more information makes their story more believable. The truth is usually simple and straightforward, while lies are padded with unnecessary specifics to sound convincing. Second, listen for repetition. When you ask a question like, "Did you take the money?" and they respond, "I did not take the money," that kind of parroting is unnatural. Honest answers tend to be more casual and less scripted. Third, watch for self-soothing behaviors. Touching the face, neck, or mouth while speaking can be a subconscious way for liars to manage the internal stress of deception, even if they appear calm otherwise. Fourth, inconsistencies in their story over time are major red flags. The truth doesn't change, but fabricated details are harder to keep consistent, especially when retelling the same event multiple times. Fifth, observe their reaction to follow-up questions. Honest people are typically open and cooperative, while liars may become defensive or irritated, trying to deflect instead of clarify. Sixth, be cautious when they shift blame or attack your character. If someone responds with, "Why don't you trust me?" instead of addressing the question directly, they're trying to guilt you into dropping the subject. Lastly, watch for hesitation before answering simple questions. While it's normal to pause when recalling complex information, simple factual questions usually don't require much thought. Delays can indicate the person is constructing an answer rather than recalling it. But here's the most important piece. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it often is. Your subconscious mind picks up on subtle signals long before your conscious mind catches on. Don't ignore that discomfort just because you want to avoid conflict or because the person seems trustworthy on the surface. Learning to recognize these signs isn't about catching every single lie. It's about protecting yourself from the ones that matter most. Protect yourself before it happens again. Look, I'm not telling you to become a paranoid conspiracy theorist who questions everyone, but I am telling you to start paying attention to patterns, to trust your instincts when something doesn't feel right. Because the cost of being naive is way higher than the cost of being cautious. Your time, your energy, your trust, these are valuable resources. Don't waste them on people who aren't being real with you. The goal isn't to catch every lie, it's to protect yourself from the big ones that actually matter. Start small. Next time someone tells you a story that feels off, pay attention to these signs. Don't accuse, just observe. You'll be shocked at how often your gut was right all along. If this helped you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Seriously, we all know someone who's too trusting for their own good. And drop a comment telling me about a time you should have trusted your instincts but didn't. Let's help each other get better at this. See you next week.